Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be bringing our data to life by creating some basic visualizations in Power BI. Now, I've always said visualizations are at the art of data analysis and they transform raw numbers into meaningful insights. And in this lesson, we'll learn how to create simple but powerful visuals using um, the default settings. So we'll cover how to create bar charts, column charts, line charts, and pie charts even. We'll also cover how to add data to our visuals. We already know how to do that, but we'll be covering that more deeply. We'll also understand how Power BI automatically summarizes data. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to create foundational visuals that effectively communicate your data story. So let's get started. So first, we're going to be creating a bar chart, and let's just remove all these that we have on our screen, just so we can create fresh ones. So the first thing to do is to add a bar chart to our canvas. So we're creating a bar chart first, right? So we have bar charts here. These are stacked. So we have either we have stacked bar charts and we have our these are clustered column charts. So let's create a stacked bar chart first of all. Let's create. Oh, you know what? Let's create a column chart. We just click on it and we have it on our canvas here. So we have this. I'm going to drag this to the center of our canvas and adjust the size a bit. So now we have this empty bar chart here, or empty column chart here. And what we have to do to populate our column charts is to add data fields to the column chart. And how do we do that? We have the fields pane here. We discussed it in the last video where we can add data to our x-axis, to our y-axis. We can add data to our legend, etc. So for our x-axis, what are we trying to visualize here? Let's try to visualize um, the total revenue or total quantity per um, let's do per product, the product subcategory. So let's do total quantity sold per product subcategory. Now, all this again is all these tables here are linked because remember we built our data model already in previous videos. Yeah, so we built our data models already in previous videos and we have a very good data model. So all these tables are connected. Let's go back to our report view. So now I want to check total quantity per subcategory. So I want to know how much was sold for each subcategory. So in subcategory A, did we sell 30? In subcategory B, did we sell 40, etc. So what would be on my, and let me just bring up my whiteboard here just so we can do some explanation. So I'm just going to bring up my whiteboard. So basically what we're trying to do is this. We have axis here. This is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. Now, because we're trying to say for each subcategory how much was sold. So let's assume this is subcategory A and let's assume this is subcategory B and let's assume this is subcategory C. So we want to know how much or so. So basically, what would be on our x-axis would be the subcategories, right? So this would be the subcategories. I'm just going to call it subcat. And what would be on our y-axis would be the quantity sold, right? So meaning subcategory A may sell maybe 5, right? And subcategory B may sell maybe 7, and subcategory C may sell maybe 3. So that's basically what we are trying to build here. So now let's just move this aside and let's remember subcategories are going on our x-axis while quantity sold is going on a y-axis. So I have quantity sold here in my sales table. Sorry, that should be when we're using the cycle sales 2019 table. And I should have quantity sold there. So I'm going to drag quantity sold to my y-axis. And we have quantity sold here. But then quantity sold per subcategory, right? So we have to bring subcategory to our x-axis. For now, our x-axis is empty. So I have a subcategory table, and I'm just going to drag the subcategory to my x-axis, and I can see all the different subcategories and how much they've been sold. So basically, we build a simple column chart here, and we can see. Let's just increase this a bit. The different subcategories and how much of them we've sold. So for example, I know for tires and tubes we've sold about two. So when I hover on each bar, you'll see there's a tooltip, this option that comes up that says subcategory tires and tubes. It's called a tooltip, and I can see the sum of quantity sold is 270,217, and that's called the tooltip. And we'll talk all about tooltips in a bit and how to edit them. Now for hydration packs, I can see we sold 96,794. For helmets, I can see we sold 95,525. For bike racks, I can see we sold 2612. Now that is a simple column chart, and we can do some edits to this, right? We can do some edits to this, but we'll be doing that in the coming video. Will be just to be changing some format, so we're going to leave this. Let's rename this page simple column chart. Well, you know what, let's actually have just one report and have lots of different charts in that one page. So this is a simple column chart. We'll edit that later. Let's look at other types of charts. Let's do a line chart. Let's do a line chart, and I just click out. Remember, if you're currently selected a visual on your canvas and you click on one of these visualizations, it changes that visual to the visualization you clicked on. So if you do not want to change your visualization, you have to click out first and then select a new chart. So I want to select a line chart, and basically I want to show a trend of something over time. Line charts do that best. So this is a line chart. Again, it's empty, right? Let's extend the line chart like this. Again, the line chart is empty. Now what I want to do on my line chart basically is I want to see how revenue has trended over time, right? So I want to see how our revenue. So let's bring up the whiteboard again. Say we have our y-axis and x-axis. And what I want to see is, okay, for maybe January. Again, line charts best show how something changes over time. January, February, March, April, May, June. I want to see maybe revenue was maybe 10 million in January, and maybe 15 million in February, and maybe 13 million in March, and maybe 17 million in April, and maybe this million in May, and this million in June. So basically this would give us a trend, right? To give us a trend, and these are what line charts do best. Tell us how something has changed over time. This will give us a trend of revenue. So on my x-axis, we are going to have revenue. Sorry, we're going to have dates or months or whatever time part we are looking at. So dates, and on our y-axis would have revenue. Right. So let's build this in our line chart. So in our calendar table, I'm going to use our calendar table because we have date there, and I'm just going to put dates in my x-axis, and I'm going to bring revenue from my sales table in my y-axis. And currently I see we just have one date, so our date is blank. Let's be sure our calendar table is joined with the sales table properly. So let's go back to our model because we shouldn't have a blank date. Our calendar table. So looking at our calendar table, and I can see that we linked date to transaction date. So it looks like everything is good. We need to see why date and transaction date are linked. We need to see why we're having that error. So let's go to the dates table, the calendar table in our table here. Let's see what's there. Calendar table. And I can see date is in date format. So let's see what format transaction date is. Also in date format. So we shouldn't be having blanks in our date. Let's see what we can do. Let's check. Let's go back to our query editor just to be sure that it's in the right format. So I can see here, and this is the problem, that date is in the text format. So you can see ABC. So we're going to change that. Just click on that format and change it to date. So now it's in the proper format. Let's be sure transaction date also in cycle sales table is also in the date format. So transaction date is in the proper format, date format. So now we fix that. And basically what we've done here is just troubleshoot a simple problem, and you would have to do a lot of that while building your reports. Issues would arise and you'd have to troubleshoot them on the fly. So let's close and apply. And let's bring this back. So I'm going to let's wait for it to marinate into the model. So we're loading the data into the model. Okay, so expect this to be fixed, or if it's not fixed, all right, so it's fixed. So now we can see how our revenue, what revenue we generated on each day. So we can see on January the 1st, we generated 40,626. On March the 1st, we generated 412,000. So we can see that there is a general upward trend in our line chart. There's this went from low and it's going up, and then it crashed recently. So there's a problem here. Something must have happened for revenue to crash. So there, we've created a line chart. Let's do one more simple chart. Um, I really don't like bar charts. I don't like bar charts, pie charts rather. I'm not a fan of pie charts, and but yeah, let's do a pie chart, or let's do donut chart. Same thing as a pie chart. So let's do a donut chart. I'm gonna bring in a donut chart, and just gonna put it in this corner. Let's extend this guy. So we have our donut charts here, and again, what do donut charts or pie charts do? They show proportion. That's basically what um, a pie chart or a donut chart does. It shows proportion. What do I mean by proportion? Let's bring up our whiteboard again. When I say proportion, my circle is not going to be perfect, pardon me. But if I had a pie chart, to think of it like a box of pizza, right? And proportion basically just shows who owns what share in the circle, right? So if I say I have this circle and, pardon me again, the shaded part belongs to female and the blank part belongs to male. So I can see that of the entire thing, the proportion for female is about quarter, 25%, while male is about 75%. Or we could see for a different, maybe not male and female, maybe for different categories. Um, and I'll tell you why I hate pie charts anyway. So maybe for different categories, you can see that this guy owns 55, 20%, 21%, 23%, and it shows proportion, right? Who owns what in a share? That's basically what pie charts show. So let's do a pie chart. And I'll show you why I hate pie charts. So we're going to do the same thing, but in a pie chart. Or let's do category, but in a pie chart, not product subcategory now. We want to see um, we want to do by this is quantity sold, right? So we're going to drag quantity sold to our values. So that's the value we want to share. We want to share quantity sold, right? So we're going to drag quantity sold to our values, right? Nothing yet, right? This is all our quantity sold, 714,000. For legends, and legends will show what we want to divide them. So I want to divide them per category, per product category. So I'm going to drag product category to legend. And now we can see that most of our categories, the category with the highest is accessories. So accessories sold the most quantity wise. Accessories sold about $590,000. About 90,000, 590,000 units, rather, not $90,000. Let me zoom this in. 590,000 units. Accessories sold that. Clothing sold about 99,000 units. That's 13.8% of the entire share. While bikes sold about 25,000. That's 3.62 of the entire share. This is nice. It looks like it's a very nice pie chart, right? I've been saying bar chart, sorry. Or donut chart, rather. It's a very nice donut chart. But then, these donut charts or pie charts can become weird very fast. If I did subcategory instead of category, or I did, let's do subcategory. So we drag subcategory instead of category into legends. And now it just becomes weird very fast and you can't really see what's what. You don't really know without the legends, you really don't know the difference between the orange and this blue. So it's not really good at showing proportions. A bar chart does a better job at showing proportions than a donut chart. So but let's just keep it like we were again we're learning how to create simple charts. So um let's just leave it this way. Before we end this video, I want to just show us something cool that Power BI does. And basically it's called cross filtering. It allows us cross filter between visuals. So for example, this is showing us the subcategory, how much was sold per subcategory. So every subcategory in our data set is here. This is showing us how much was sold per category. So every category in our data set is here. This is showing us how much revenue was generated for the entire data set, not filtered. But if we click on any of these, so let's click on accessories in this. If you click on accessories, just accessories, you can see the chart automatically gets filtered. So here, this bar, this line chart we are looking at is just revenue generated for accessories alone. And we can see in a deep shade of blue, we can see all the accessories are, I think they're actually in the lighter blue. You can see jerseys, gloves, shorts, road bikes, etc. I think. If we click on clothing, for example, okay, they're in deep blue actually. Accessories are in deep blue. We have tires and tubes, hydration packs, helmets, bed cage, bottle cages, fenders. Those are accessories and they're in deep blue. So Power BI allows you cross filter between visuals. So if I click on our bikes, for example, I get my revenue for bikes, which is going up. I can see my revenue for clothing, which went up and then went down. If I see for accessories, also went up and went down. So Power BI allows us to cross filter between visuals, and that's one of the powerful features of Power BI. So we've looked at how to um, basically create some visuals in Power BI. In the next video, we're going to be looking at how to work with this visualization pane and use these options to format our visuals, make it look better. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.